Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AITA. In today's episode, AITA for not letting my niece help in my bakery anymore? AITA for not paying for our son's college tuition after he blew his money when he was 18, despite being able to afford it. AITA for telling my husband and his family not to call me a nickname? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. AITA for not letting my niece help in my bakery anymore? Throwaway from privacy. I, 35F, own a small bakery. I'm very happy with it and proud of my work. I have 2 employees who work part-time, and for the most part it's just me. My SAL approached me at the beginning of the summer and asked if I would let my niece, F11, help out in the bakery over the school break. She has been getting really into baking and loves watching content creators baking, and was apparently just dying to be able to job shadow/help out in a bakery. I was hesitant, but said yes. And I hated it. Every single minute that her niece spent in my bakery this summer was the only time I've ever had any regrets opening my business. Whatever the opposite of helpful was, that was what my niece was. My employees didn't enjoy her being there, and I didn't enjoy her being there at all. We were 3 very grumpy people all summer. I had hopes that she would get better, but she didn't. She started back to school this week, and I have never felt so relieved. I thought many times about telling my SIL that she couldn't come back during the summer, but since I had made the promise, I kept up with it. My SIL stopped by the house yesterday to drop something off for my husband. She told me my niece had absolutely loved her experience this summer and wanted to know if she could come back a couple Saturdays a month. I told her that unfortunately that wasn't going to work, and that going forward I didn't think it was a good idea for my niece to help out. I told her it just wasn't productive for us. My SIL was very unhappy. She told me that my niece had loved her summer at the bakery and was so looking forward to continuing. I told her that I was sorry, but I had a business to run and couldn't continue having her help out. This dissolved into a shouting match that my husband eventually broke up. My SIL and MIL have been sending me nasty messages about breaking a girl's heart. My husband said my niece called him and was very upset, but he stands by me and understands that I can't let this bring down my workplace. So am I being the asshole? NTA, this isn't a hobby and isn't some daycare, it's your business, your livelihood. I don't know what niece did to be so bothersome, but in the end it's your choice, and you need to make a choice that works for your business. She probably was just in the way, as I can't imagine there would be much she could do in a fast-paced environment. If OP were having to stop to correct her or help her with something, it would slow her down, frustrating customers and everyone trying to work around her in the kitchen. Probably being 11 and in an actual work environment where things have to be done right and in a timely manner, reasons why places don't hire 11-year-olds. NTA. You run a legitimate business, not a daycare. You are there to make baked goods for customers, not babysit a child who probably shouldn't be there in the first place. I'll be honest, if I went to a food service place and saw a child running around behind the counter, I'd be taking my business elsewhere. I agree with you. My employees and I really felt like it destroyed our image a bit. But we are in a smaller town and there are several shops/restaurants around town where that's tolerated, so it's not 100% out of place where we are. But not something I personally like. I love how many people are like, well, why was she so unhelpful? What made it so New Jersey Oya Blue? Dude, it's a 3-person staffed bakery and she's 11. I'm no pro baker and I can figure it out, lol, you guys don't have time to be teaching a kid and fixing the errors that any 11-year-old would understandably make on a learning curve. It's not like you have 20 more staff to pick up the slack. The stress levels must have been off the charts having to add babysitter and teacher to an already full-time job. What could possibly have been enjoyable about that for any of you? NTA. If her mother is so keen to foster her interest, why does she not buy her some baking supplies and bake with her at home instead of dumping her on you for free childcare while you're trying to run a business? NTA. You should have fired her earlier in this summer. You were under no obligation to keep a bad employee or babysit someone else's daughter for an entire summer. I don't know why this needed to devolve into a shouting match, but your business is a business. Children shouldn't be working there anyway. It probably breaks child labor laws or cleanliness laws or something. At any rate, she didn't have the skills or maturity to be a help to you. Never do a favor like this again. On a different vein, don't be baking free cakes for family either. Especially family who send you nasty messages. 11 years old in a workplace is absolutely never her helping you, it's you babysitting her. Nice experience for the kid and parents, I'm sure, and cheaper than any hobby. NTA. AITA for not paying for our son's college tuition after he blew his money when he was 18, despite being able to afford it. So at 18 we gave our son his college fund, told him he can do as he pleases with it. He chose to spend if traveling and finding himself over the last 2 years. He is 20 now and wishes to go to school, and asked us to pay for his tuition. When I asked what happened to the money, he told us the above. I said no, and told him if he wants to go to school better get a job. My wife wants to pay it for his future, I said no, we did right and he chose otherwise. AITA. Edit, we did inform him that the money was his to use. Be it for college or with E. It was his money after all, we set it aside for him. We did explain the intent, but he is an adult and he was free to use it as he pleases, just understand the consequences. Edit, 18 is an adult in my eyes, and old enough to understand actions have consequences. We informed him what the intent was for, and that we would not police him over it. End of the it was his money, and he was free to use it he pleases. Sorry if I did not explain this properly beforehand. Edit, my son knows what I do for a living. That said, what I did was exactly what my dad. I also did not use it to go to school, I used it as a down payment on 2 houses and rented them out, and asked him for help. My son was free to do the same. He may not have the knowledge or impulse control, but he is told enough to know it is okay to ask for help if he is unsure how to use said money or had no idea what to do with his life. I am not a monster and he knows this. He could have just asked, hey, I want to travel, how can I best go about that? Had he asked, I would have let's do X, Y, and Z with your money, then I would have given some money to travel. We did the same with his car, he wanted a car, we told him to save. When he saved up an amount needed to buy a car, I told him to keep at and we bought him a car. He knows I do not do things solely to be a cruel monster. He had a bunch of options, he chose the worst one, but I was not going to forcefully interject my views on him if he did not want to come ask me for help. The fact he did not meant to me, he did not want my guidance. NTA. But seriously, did you actually expect an 18-year-old to make good choices with that kind of money? Yes. 18 is old enough to make responsible choices. Otherwise, we wouldn't let them drive. Or work. I started college at 17 and used my money responsibly. Stop acting like just because people are young we inherently make stupid decisions. NTA. He spent the college fund. It's not a magic well of money that replenishes itself. That being said, did no one bring this up with him over the 2 years he spent the money? Did he not mention it? Seems like a communication gap. So at 18 we gave our son his college fund, told him he can do as he pleases with it. Info. What did you do prior to that to prepare him for money management and the huge responsibility you just dumped on him? That's the big question. If I'm being honest here, it sounds like this is more an issue of the parents failing to parent a kid who still needed more guidance at 18. They used his age, which is arbitrary because not everyone matures at the same rate, to decide when their duty as parents was over. It sounds to me like they failed him. One of the best things a parent can do is pass down financial literacy to their child. These are taught in lessons, not by handing over a lump sum of money. Remember, majority of lottery winners spend the money within 10 years. AITA for telling my husband and his family not to call me a nickname? So my name is Lucy, 28F. My husband, 31M, has always been super fond of nicknames and has given me plenty of them. They constantly change and I have never minded any of the ones he's given me before. They're all quite harmless, usually food or animal related. But they tend to stick for a while. His family also uses nicknames. They occasionally give me one, too. It's often the same one my husband uses if it isn't too sappy. Again, I don't mind them, in fact I usually find it quite cute and endearing. Until recently. My husband started calling me Lulu. Let me give you the context. I was called Lulu growing up exclusively by my mother, and she's passed away not long before I met my husband. I took her loss pretty hard. I told him that it has a lot of emotional significance for me, and that it doesn't feel right to hear anyone else say it. He respected that for years, and so did his family. But recently his sister has been referring to me as Lulu whenever I wasn't there, according to what I've been told. And I guess he naturally picked up on it. It's irritating because it's not like he forgot about my reasons behind it, he'll hesitate before saying it. Like he's trying to see how I'll react. I've reminded him calmly a couple times that I would appreciate he not call me that. There's plenty of other things I didn't mind him calling me. Nothing that had emotional weight. The other day he said that he didn't see the big deal anymore. It had been some years and I should be over it by now. That it's just a nickname. He said it lightly, like he was trying to let me down easy, but it stung. Maybe I overreacted, but I was hurt by it. I packed a bag and I'm currently staying with my sister. He and his family texted saying I'm doing a lot over a little nickname, and I'm thinking maybe they're right. I want to get past this because it feels petty at this point. AITA? NTA. If nicknames aren't a big deal, then why can't he let this nickname drop? Why do he and his family have to keep the one nickname that causes you pain? Why isn't that a big deal? You are the person who gets to decide when you're over your mother's death. Not him. Best answer. Rules for me, not for thee. If it's not a big deal, then it should be no problem to never use it. I agree, if names aren't a big deal, stop using theirs. Call all of them Bob. It's just a nickname, right? Harmless, no? NTA. It's not the nickname, it's the disrespect. NTA. Calling it an overreaction is exactly the same as the "can't you take a joke" defense, which is always lame. NTA, people need to call you the name you choose. Telling you to get over your mother's death is toxic behavior. Does he treat you like this with other things? If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.